Hi everyone, welcome to Bad Weather Barbecue. I'm Johnny, and today we're talking about the processes of brining and curing, and ultimately smashing more flavour into your beloved barbecue. Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. This is the channel where we talk all things barbecue. Today I want to talk about two processes that I've been using recently, and that is brining and curing, and ultimately how they can help improve not only the flavour but also the tenderness of your barbecue. As ever, make sure you stick around to the end of the video where I'll be giving you my 3 top tips for making either your brining or curing processes a success. Before we get into some products that I'll be showing you that I use to assist me with both the brining and curing processes, I thought it'd be useful just to really define what is brining and what is curing. So let's kick off with brining. So what is brining? Well, brining is the preserving and seasoning of food that enhances both flavour and tenderness. I'll be giving you some examples shortly around what sort of meats you can brine, but you will have seen me brine in the past. The little chicken lollipops that I did, the iron brew lollipops, where I actually used the sugar within the iron brew to help brine those lollipops. Curing, on the other hand, is the preservation and flavouring process that draws moisture out of meat or fish through the process of osmosis. Therefore, the food becomes inhospitable for food spoilage microbes. A great example of this, which you've already seen in my videos, is when we've looked at the curing of the salmon before I smoke it. That just simply draws all the moisture out of the salmon. Therefore, there's no harmful bacteria that will either spoil the food or harm human beings in it, and therefore it makes it ready for smoking. As a side note on that one, guess who's working his way through his hygiene module at college? Yep, that's right, this guy. So let's kick off and have a little bit of a deeper dive into brining first. So brining's a process I've been a big fan of for many years now. I've traditionally sort of brined or made up my own brines in the past. As you'll have seen me do with the iron brew video, it's simply a sort of sugar and salt based solution. But also then getting more flavour into your meat is key here, and therefore you can add whatever sort of herbs and spices you want to it. Now, before I get into showing you any of the sort of products that I use during the brining process, I just want to point out that I'm not sponsored by any of these companies whatsoever. I'm not getting any kickback. The show's not sponsored by it. This is purely my recommendations from products that I have bought with my own money. When I first started smoking food at home, I really wanted to try and understand brining a little bit better, so I bought a helpful little book to help me. And here it is. So this book. So it's Smoking at Home with Smoky Joe, written by Joe Hampson and Georgina Perkins. And this really helped me understand, I guess, the sort of quantities required in it. So if I was doing a whole turkey, for example, how much liquid would I need versus, what sort of ratio would I need there of salt and sugar and other herbs and spices to help really kind of enhance the flavour and tenderize the meat a little bit better. There's some great suggestions in the book around what you can use, as I say, what ratios to use, whether that be for smoked trout, for salmon, kippers, duck, goose, pork, whatever it is that you're doing. I really found this very, very useful right at the start. And we really started to see the kind of effects of the brine on the flavour of our meat, and as I say, the tenderness as well, very, very quickly. Whether you're brining or curing, you do need a plan with these. And what I mean by that is you need to understand how long you're going to have to brine or cure your foods for. We'll get into that a little bit later because I'll share with you a plan that I've made for a cook that I'll be doing today. Recognizing that we all have busy lives, not everyone is going to have time to mix up their own brine and get their meat, brining accordingly. Therefore, there are solutions that you can buy for this. What these won't do is take away the time that the meat needs to brine, but what it does do is it does save you time in terms of mixing them up yourself. So what I wanted to do was just share a few of these with you today. I'll pop some pictures up on the screen, but I'm hoping you're going to be able to see there's a few bottles sitting next to me. Now, I've got 3 different varieties here. There are 5 bottles, but I've actually got 3 of one specific type, and I'll tell you why in a second. But I came across these from watching Chef Tom on allthingsbarbecue.com. The company that make these are called the Sweetwater Spice Company, and these are a brine concentrate. So what that means is that, as with any concentrate that you'll have in your house, diluting juice is a good example, you have to add water to it, and this is exactly the same. So depending on which ones you use will dictate how much water and anything else, for example kosher salt, that you may need to add into the mix. So thinking about the time of year that we're in at the moment, we'll be coming up to Thanksgiving in the US next week. And then obviously in late December, we'll be coming up to Christmas and the holidays in the rest of the world. So I thought it'd be good just to have a little chat about the Sweetwater Spice Turkey Bath Concentrate. This is one of these situations where I really wish I had smell-o-vision. If you open this, it smells like Christmas in a bottle. And that's when you want to be getting this into the likes of your Christmas turkey. Depending on the size of your turkey will dictate how much of this you actually have to use. For one of the big sort of turkeys that'll feed sort of 15 people, that sort of thing, you probably need 2 bottles of this. And in terms of the concentrate, it's quite straightforward. For every 1 bottle of this, you need to then add 1 gallon, or pretty much 4 litres of water, as well as around about 50 grams of salt. And that gets your mixture all sorted out, and then you can add your turkey into it. As I say, if it is the slightly bigger turkeys, you might need 2, and therefore double up what I've just been talking about. Additionally, however, they do a few other flavours. I think there's about 7 in total, and as I say, I've got about 3 here. They do brisket bath, so great for your briskets, and they also do a fantastic one, which is butt and rib bath. So for any of your pork-based products, this is an absolute go-to for them. Whilst the convenience of utilising the Sweetwater Spice concentrates shouldn't be underestimated, there are situations where you really just have to make up your own brine. And one of those situations is with pastrami. Pastrami is a family favourite and one we've done multiple times. The way we do it is using the flat of the brisket, and we brine for about 5 days all in. It's not complicated, just to be clear. It just takes a little bit more time in terms of preparation. So some of the things you'll need for that are kosher salt, which is a big one for it. You will need some pork powder number 1. Now what that is, and you can get this on Amazon, it's not hard to get, but if you think about pastrami, you know how it goes that sort of deep red colour? Well, that's what does that to it. Then you've got some pickling spice. Now, this is extra fancy pickling spice. Don't ask me what's extra fancy about it. I have absolutely no idea. And then once your brine is all done and dusted, once the process is complete, and just before you get it on the smoker, you will need to hit it with some pastrami seasoning. So as ever, Angus and Oink to the rescue, and they do a great one, which I'd highly recommend. So with all that said about brining, let's now move on to curing. So I've done curing on this channel before, particularly with the salmon, and I've got a couple of examples here that I have used. So once again, some Angus and Oink cures here. These, particularly for the salmon, one's gin and tonic, and the other is dill, orange, and beetroot. So what you're looking to do with these is when you've portioned up your salmon and you know what it is that you want to cure, you just add a plentiful supply of the cure mix onto it, make sure it's touching every part of the salmon, and you leave that, generally speaking, for the portions that I do, about 18 to 24 hours. After that period, what you'll do is you'll come back and you will see large pockets of moisture have been taken out of them, which is exactly what we want, because we don't want any microbes to be left in there that will either spoil the food or indeed hurt you or your family. You can also buy meat curing packs, and a great example of that from Angus and Oink are the bacon curing packs that they have. Again, you can make up your own, you don't have to buy them, but the results that I've had out of these have been outstanding, and therefore it saves me a hell of a lot of time, and the results I get are great. And all of my guests that have eaten the salmon that I've done so far have said it's been wonderful. So this will suit me, and it's really inexpensive. At the moment, the dill, orange and beetroot cure is on sale. I think 500 grams of it will cost you about, I think it's $7.99 before postage. So it's pretty cheap, and it just takes a lot of the stress out of it. So earlier in the video, I said that certainly with the curing and brining processes, it's really good to have a plan in place. And what I mean by that is, so let's say it's Saturday today and you're inviting people over, or you want your dinner at 6 o'clock, but you're brining your chicken or turkey or lamb or whatever it is that you're brining. Well, you need to ensure that you have sufficient time to allow the brining process to complete prior to then cooking it in whatever fashion you're going to be cooking it. So quick example, and spoiler alert for my next video, I'm going to be cooking a turkey later on today. It's just a turkey crown, but I've had that brining now for, I think I had that brining for about 24 hours. So, you know, let's say I want to serve at 6 o'clock today. There's actually an air drying process to kind of dry up the skin prior to that, which I know takes another 24 hours. So 6 o'clock yesterday, I needed to make sure that the process was on for air drying, and therefore 24 hours prior to that, I needed to ensure that the brining had started. So you just need to kind of work back and just make sure you give yourself enough time to complete all the steps of the process. Early in the video, I said to stick around and I'd give you my 3 top tips for making your brining and or curing processes an absolute success. So here we go. Number 1, as I've already said, make sure you give yourself enough time for the process to complete. So whatever it is that you're doing, whatever weight of meat or fish that you are looking to cook or smoke, make sure that you follow the guidance in terms of how much time it needs. It's a fantastic way, as I say, of tenderizing or getting additional flavors into what you're going to be eating. So give it the appropriate time that it needs. All right, number 2. A couple of times on this channel, I'm aware that I've used the term less is more. This isn't one of these situations. This is more. Make sure that if you are curing the likes of your salmon, that the cure touches every part of that salmon. We want to make sure that all of that moisture, all the osmosis takes place, and therefore all the unwanted microbes are taken out of that fish. And number 3, whilst I've talked about sort of dilution ratios for sugar and salt into the liquid you'll be using for your brine, don't be afraid to try other herbs and spices. You know, for example, thyme and rosemary we know work well with chicken, but don't be afraid to try other things. You know, what's your favorite flavors that you want to put into your foods? You know, give it a shot, be your own chef. So there you have it. My little bit of a run through on brining and curing. As I say, I am going to be undertaking these processes over the next couple of videos. So, you know, do watch out for them and you'll see them in practice. But it was important to me to try and get a 101 done, you know, outlining what the processes are for and why they're kind of important for ultimately, I guess, taking, you know, your barbecue to the next level. So I hope you liked that video. If you did, please hit that like button. And if you haven't yet subscribed, it'd be great if you would consider doing so. As ever, please leave me a comment in the section below. I always have a lot of fun interacting with you guys. But, you know, please let me, I'm not a master of everything brining and curing. You know, I'm still finding new products to use or different solutions to use. So please let me know, what have you brined? What have you cured? And what would you recommend? So thanks everyone for watching. Please look after yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video.